here we are.
It's been a while.
Wednesday, back end of May. It's half term next week. Looking forward to that.
Same here. Absolutely same here.
But yeah, John, good to catch up with you before we break, just to find out what's been happening lately, up at CEO level here at LGfL.
Well, there's loads going on, as always, Dan. You know what it's like.
I know.
And let's not forget, let's plug the conference, 30th of June. Yeah, be there, centre of London.
Oh, yes.
Exciting agenda.
Let's Celebrate 2.
Celebrate 2, yeah.
And that's a Friday.
It's Friday.
30th of June.
Correct.
2023. Watch out for the invites. Get yourselves there.
They should be coming out at lunchtime today. We'll start the PR.
And I'd like to think that if you haven't been to an LGfL conference, if you're an LGfL school or not an LGfL school, then come down and check out the vibe here in Liverpool Street. Nice central location.
Yeah.
I think it's an opportunity for us to get key speakers in and to showcase the benefits of what we include in our subscriptions to schools.
Indeed.
And talk about cybersecurity and talk about digital strategy.
And safeguarding, of course. Product roadmaps.
Yeah, there we go. And new services.
New services.
I like LGfL Assemble.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be a groundbreaking for schools, and they're going to love that.
Oh, come on, let's talk about that for a minute. Let me talk about that. Yes.
Okay, I'll give you...
The world is about to change in LGfL. We are going to launch something new and spectacular. Yes.
I've seen it. It's very impressive.
And we certainly hope so. We've been working with, as you should be, when you're designing products for schools, working with the people who are going to use them and consume them. And so we've been working with head teachers and some leaders of maths and some IT professionals and a number of schools to say, okay, how can we make LGfL more accessible, more usable, and more friendly? And of course, providing a portal into our services that is, gives you information about what you're saving, your security, how you're using products, how you're using Adobe, latest news, ways of contacting people at a click of a button, all in one place. It's just amazing.
I just like the fact it's very intuitive. It's great for senior leadership teams in schools. They can come in, press a button, and they can see that all the lights are on. There's traffic lights, all green lights across the board. Let's go. Let's have a good day teaching and learning at my school.
We should have a whole podcast on Assemble. I'll maybe get the developers in to have a chat about that.
Well, maybe for another time.
But, you got me going on that now. I almost don't want to stop, Dan, I want to keep going.
It's an exciter for next time, so tune in, folks. Coming soon. More on that. But, yes.
There's a lot going on. Doing a lot of work on the future. At the last conference, I announced some major changes that no one else is able to do. One of them is we're going to make it very, very simple for schools over the next few years. Don't worry about upgrades, what it might cost, getting people in to install stuff, all that heartache, cost. We are going to upgrade anyone who needs more than a gig for free at my risk, yeah?
Wow.
You're an LGfL customer, you're going to have unlimited bandwidth. You go over 1 gig, you'll get more gig. And, that's a promise. The second thing we've been obviously looking at is, how we can increase the capacity that's available to schools. Remember, on our network, it's a flick of a switch. If schools need more bandwidth, we just upgrade them. No one else is doing that. I don't see anybody else advertising free upgrades anywhere.
Have you done over 7,000 free upgrades since 2020? Something like that?
It's getting closer and closer to 8,000. I think I need a big sort of number thing up behind me flashing with all these wonderful upgrades.
So I think it's nice that we can see the usage across the estate, and it's great that when you see somebody is really sort of embracing cloud services more than they ever have done before, and they all are, that you can, at a flick of a switch, get them the bandwidth they need. So it's,
well, think about it. Nowadays, you cannot, everything's going to the cloud, right? Whether or not it's a private cloud, a public cloud, or a hybrid cloud, it's going cloud. And that means that nothing much is staying in the school. It's somewhere else. And you've got to make sure, therefore, that the connectivity between your school and the destination is reliable and it has sufficient capacity, and they are things that keep me awake at night. And certainly on the capacity side, on the security side, I think we're in a great position.
Yeah.
Now, this brings me on to a key topic, of course, which is resilience. Now, one of the pieces of advice I've got for everyone out there, and it's certainly in the DFE guidance, as we go into cloud, we definitely can't rely on one connection anymore. There are so many reasons that you can lose your connection. You can lose your connection because rats eat through fibre. You can lose your connection because there's power failures.
Yes.
You can lose your connection because equipment fails. So you can lose your connection because your carrier has a national problem. There's just I think there's probably over 55 reasons why you can lose your connection.
I was going to say a myriad, but 55 will do.
55 will do. We'll set ourselves a workshop to list them all for the schools. But I think the point I'm making is that no matter what you do, and however well you design something, if you're dependent on one, there's a single point of failure, it will fail. It will fail. Now, what you need to then think through is, what do you do then? Are you willing to tolerate that risk and basically go back to paper? I think in a big secondary school or even a large primary or whatever school really, going back to paper registers, people running around trying to find bits of paper to do the class, wouldn't work. So, we really need to be talking now about failover connectivity, and, there's different forms that can take. The great news is, that's what's been keeping me awake at night since the last podcast. How do we do it? Well, there are a number of ways I'm going to make this available to schools. One is you can have fibre. You can have the same kind of fibre that you have on your primary connection. Synchronous, high speed, reliable, but going with an alternative carrier provision. What does that mean? Well, that means basically if we lose the Virgin line, you'll fail over to an alternative leased line with mega capacity. That isn't available everywhere, for a variety of reasons. So there's alternative technologies that then become optional. One of them is called fibre to the premise, FTTP. Now, FTTP is different. It says it's fibre, but it's fibre that delivers different upload and download speeds.
It's got great download speeds, that's for sure. From 160, 220, 330, 550, up to a gig.
It has.
1,000, I should say.
And 1,000. However, it isn't, the advantage with a synchronous fibre, the leased lines that we do, it's the same speed up and down. But FTTP, nevertheless, if there's a problem, is good enough for switching over to and keeping the school running and would work. But again, we've got problems with coverage. So that leads me into the third domain of alternatives, which we are now using wire-free resilient connectivity. So things like 5G,
Wow,
5G,
yes.
yeah. And of course, good old Starlink, it's getting beamed in from outer space.
Satellites.
So why dig up the road when you can beam it in from space?
Wow.
And we've been testing that. And again, for resilience, we are finding really good speeds. And it works for us. So
in excess of 200 megabits per second download speeds.
We've seen that. We've seen higher speeds.
Yeah.
It works particularly well where there's, in rural areas or where there's a lack of Starlink coverage because it's not fighting with every other satellite dish to access the satellite. But it is very effective and it's cost effective. So, as I say, we want to be able to provide options for schools that are affordable, consumable, and work at massive scale. And we want to create not only the fastest network in the world for schools, we also want to create the most reliable network for schools in the world. And trust me, what seems to be a straightforward task requires a lot of engineering, a lot of planning. It's a long-term commitment, and you'll be glad to know it ain't cheap. But guess what? Good old LGfL, because of its buying scale, is getting economies of scale, lower prices, and I'll find ways of making that very deliverable across the thousands of schools we support.
The benefits of aggregated procurement, eh?
Indeed.
So we've got, in summary, there's altnets.
Yes. Alternative carriers.
We have satellites.
Correct.
VMB have joined up with O2, so does that open up another area?
5G, of course.
And then there's FTTP, and
yes.
I know from my customer relationship management role, every time we send a proposal outside the door, we're checking on BT availability for FTTP.
Correct.
And we're beginning to see some good news coming through. So hurry up, BT, OpenReach, roll it out faster.
I think let's be honest. It's, to be fair to BT and anyone else doing fibre provision, it's a big task. You've got lots of planning, digging. You've got all sorts of permits you might need to get access to things. I know it's frustrating for all of us. And I'm sure that same frustrations shared by the fibre providers, to be fair to them. I think they're doing a grand job. We'd like it to be done faster. I don't think there's anyone in schools, education, or in any business who would like to see broadband brought to us faster. But I've got to be fair. It's a big task, and I think we're all in it together. And what we want to do genuinely in this community is deliver the capacity, reliability and service quality that a digital education provides.
That's great news for LGfL schools. And I'm just wondering whether the 30th of June was mentioned at the beginning.
Yeah.
You're going to rubber stamp this further at the Celebrate 2 conference.
I'm going to say a lot more about these things at the conference. I'm absolutely determined, Dan, as I say. I'm calling it unlimited learning. I'm going to take off the limits to education. If you want to have cloud every day, you want 4K streaming, 8K streaming, you want it, you're going to get it. And we are going to be at the forefront of that, the vanguard of that, both in the UK and as far as possible worldwide. Why not? I mean, it's time for the UK to be more ambitious, isn't it?
Yeah.
We're known for our innovation in tech, so I'm proud to lead a charge to help the children, the schools, get the best possible digital education based on the fastest possible connectivity.
Great stuff. Look, John, mustn't keep you because we're busy. But thanks for coming to the podcasting studio.
Yeah.
Thanks for giving us an update, which we'll get out there. Date for the diary. I think 30th of June is going to be a good one to rubber stamp what you're talking about now, plus other stuff.
Yeah.
It's all happening here at LGfL. If you want to know more,
let me save you here, Dan. www.lgfl.net. Yes, that'll do. That'll do for the day.
National.lgfl.net. So there you go. Anyway, John, thanks for coming to the studio.
Always good to talk to you, Dan.
All the best for now. Look forward to seeing you later on next month.
Yes, can't wait.
Cheers.
Rock and roll. Thank you.